2012 meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority. May we have the roll call, please?
Authority members: Friedman,
Here.
Manukian, Mincy,
Here.
Barazian,
Here.
Quintero,
Here.
Weaver,
Here.
Chair Najarian.
Here, may we have your report?
Agenda for the October 9, 2012 regular meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority was posted on Thursday, October 4, 2012 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. Next item?
Next item is approval of minutes for the regular Housing Authority meeting of Tuesday, October 2nd.
So moved.
Second.
Thanks. We have a motion and a second with no corrections or additions. The minutes will be approved as submitted. Next item, please.
Next item is oral communication. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker will be allowed 5 minutes. Members of the Housing Authority may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision, and the matter may be referred to staff through the Executive Director for investigation and report. There was one card submitted.
Thank you. I have one card from Herbert Milano.
Good afternoon, members of the Housing Authority and city staff. My name is Herbert Milano. I'm here to do a follow-up on my most recent presentations before you with regard to the availability of open space and a report on at least the quality of life indicators of the city. I mentioned last week that it appears from all the information that I've gathered about the recent development of housing in Glendale, especially south of the 134 freeway, that despite the over 1,000 apartment units that have been created, in the past 3.5 years, there has been no increase and no new development proposed for parkland. And I think that should be a significant concern for this body. Not only do you approve the low-income housing and the additional projects that take place south of the 134 freeway, but I believe that the projects for parkland that have been completed in the past 3 years were initiated well before that, years ago. And it is also my contention that many of the money that has been collected for the park impact fees are now being assigned for the Dugmagian Park project, millions of dollars for that particular activity. And I think that is in violation of the Quimby Act. I sent the city attorney and the city manager a letter concerning my concerns that these projects, if they are being, then I think are not allowable, or the money may have to be returned somehow to the residents or the condominium owners of those projects. I would like to ask if it is possible for this body to ask the staff to give you an analysis on the amount of park space that has been created or initiated in the past 3.5 years by this body or the city council. Because if you already have 1,000 to 2,000 additional residential units in this area, and I'm including those in Kenwood, which are recreational area 10, anything that is between Broadway and Glen Oaks Boulevard, between Brand and Adams, maybe even further than that, that's 32,000 people. We haven't had a single inch of additional parkland in more than 35 years, but we have thousands of more residents and residential units. So let's say that we had 2,000 additional residential units in the area. Multiply that times 2.7, which is the average occupancy in Glendale, you end up with, a good 7,000, 8,000 people in here additional. So what are we doing with regard to the open parkland and space for the quality of life of residents south of the 134 freeway? I think it's a legitimate question. It's germane to this body, in as much as you get the quality of life indicators, and is germane to this body in as much as you approve all this low-income housing without the adequate parkland. I think it should be addressed. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, you quoted an act. Which act was it, Mr. Milano? Quimby?
The Quimby Act.
Thank you.
perhaps have different recollection as to the number of parks and the type of investment that the city has made in that region and throughout the city as a whole. So I would ask if we could get a report on that. And let's make it comprehensive. Let's just not limit it to new parks. Let's limit it to renovated parks, which includes dollars. I mean, Maple Park comes to mind. Windsor Manor Park comes to mind. The new
Pacific
Edison Aquatic Park. That counts
as well as soccer fields,
So-
baseball diamond, basketball courts, indoor gym, library.
Maryland. So let's just see whose memory is better on this. And some I know were not newly cleared parks, some were renovations, but let's just see, because I know this council and this authority takes it very serious, the attempt to create new parks wherever possible. And don't count the open space in the hillsides. That wouldn't be a fair addition to the list. But let's just see where it all.
Well, and then the assertion is also being made that the money from the fees from the development activity is going directly to DuPageon Park. So I would like to clear that up.
We'll have a comprehensive report coming back to the
Okay.
agency.
Okay. And in fact, I'm not even sure if it's in the purview of the agency. It might be.
City Council.
It might be City Council. Let's put it at prime time so we can, expose any fallacies in the arguments either way.
I would like to at least have a list of that, since I might not be at that meeting in the evening.
Let's include that for everyone, the report, and then you're more than welcome to attend the City Council meeting
Oh, thank
in
you.
the evening to give us your input. Okay, I have no other cards, so oral communications is closed. Next item, please.
On the business agenda at 6A is Director of Community Development regarding Doran Gardens Affordable Housing Project. At A1 is a resolution approving the fifth implementation agreement to the amended and restated disposition and development agreement between the Housing Authority and AHP DFO LLC.
Okay, who's going to take this?
Chair Najarian, I'd like to ask Mike Fortney to come on up, and he's our housing project manager, and he'll take us through this report.
I have to.
Support.
Good afternoon, Housing Authority Board members. I'm Mike Fortney, your Housing Project Manager. The Doran Gardens, that's the fifth implementation agreement. Before I got into that, I just wanted to quickly update you on the status of the sales of the units out there. Right now, 3 have just sold. 2 households have moved in. The third one will probably be in by the end of the weekend. And then, in addition to that, we have 7 more that we expect by the end of the month. And then there are still quite a bit more in the next phase behind that that are fully approved by the Housing Authority, by HHP, by the banks. They're in escrow. And behind that, then there's a bunch of other applications that are being processed. So it's just now finally starting where we're seeing people move into the project, and it's snowballing, if you will, from there. So I just want to give you that quick update. So the fifth implementation agreement, it only does 2 things. They're rather minor. The first one is to lower the interest rate on a loan between the Housing Authority and Heritage Housing Partners. The interest rate is at 2.965% right now. It was originally 2.85%, so it's a very small number. And the reason why we increased that number is in early conversations, sidetrack for a moment, we just delivered a park, the Housing Authority. I hope that gets included on the list. But we increased that interest on that loan by a small percentage to make up for the cost of placing signage in the Doran Gardens Park. Originally, what we had talked with Parks about doing was building the park nearly turnkey, minus the park signage. And then when we turned it over to the city would put in the park signage the way they wanted to do it. As we got nearer to completing the park, we kind of changed direction and said, Heritage Housing Partners, we'd like you to deliver the park completely turnkey, including the signage. So Heritage Housing Partners went out of pocket, went ahead and did all that, delivered the park. Parks accepted it exactly that way. So there's no reason to continue to have the higher interest rate. So that interest rate was just slightly higher to offset the cost to the city to provide the signage. So that's the first thing it does. The second thing it does is defers one payment on that same loan. And this was staff's mistake. Early on in the discussions with Heritage Housing Partners on the DDA for the project, I had thrown out the idea of getting a payment from Heritage Housing Partners at the C of O. Basically, all the outstanding...
At the what?
Certificate of occupancy. My apologies. So at C of O, certificate of occupancy, I was hoping to get a little bit of money for the city, and then the rest would be paid off when all the sales of the units. We talked about that and quickly realized, well, it's certificate of occupancy, no money has come into the project yet, so the only possible way to do that would be to draw down funds from the construction loan, if in fact there was money left in the construction loan. And, going through that conversation, it didn't really make any sense. So we all agreed, probably in 2008, to change that back. But everywhere in the agreement except in one spot, I think it's the method of financing, it still reflects that requirement to make that one initial payment as certificate of occupancy, and then the remaining payments once all the sales are done. So we're asking that be changed back. In talking to Heritage Housing Partners recently about that, another issue had come up when we were looking to convey the park to the city, and that was the park and city attorney's office desire to have a maintenance bond. And I crunched some numbers, and assuming we got that deferred payment that we weren't really intending on getting, and we earned 2% interest over the course of a year, that's about the difference between a certificate of occupancy and the final sale of units. You're looking at a number of about $5,500 that would have come to the city on that interest. And the maintenance bond that the HHP went out and purchased on behalf of the city was roughly $4,500. So even though we weren't expecting the $5,500 and we were asking that to be changed back, we did get something in return. We got a $4,500 maintenance bond. So those are the two actions that we're asking for approval today.
Okay, are there any questions?
I have a question. Most probably in mid of August, I watched Sona Muradian from the housing department talking on the Armenian TV about the project and explaining the Armenian community about the sales and the eligibility of qualifications in details. So I wanted to know, was there any feedback after from the community?
Oh, feedback between Sona Muradian and the community?
No, feedback from
TV show.
TV show.
Oh, yeah.
Armenian TV.
Yes, there was. Yeah, after the show, Sona and I talked. There was quite a few phone calls back to Sona. Of those, how many actually went forward and made the application? I'm not sure, but I would suspect a few. But I could find out the number. But yeah, there was quite a bit of feedback after that.
Okay, I have no cards. If there are no other questions, I will entertain a motion.
Move 5A1.
Second.
6A,
Could be
6A1.
6A1. I see.
But it is the fifth implementation agreement, so there is a 5.
That is the fifth.
Fifth, and I hope last.
Fifth, and we hope last. Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Authority members: Friedman.
Yes.
Manukian.
Yes.
Lindsay.
Yes.
Razian.
Yes.
Quintero.
Yes.
Weaver.
Aye.
Chair Najarian.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Authority member staff comments. Mr. Zovak?
Mr. Chair, members of the Housing Authority, just a quick announcement. Habitat for Humanity International, in conjunction with San Gabriel Valley Habitat for Humanity, the local chapter here, is hosting an event next Tuesday, October 16th from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. in the Police Community Room here in Glendale, and the public is invited to attend. Habitat for Humanity Armenia will be visiting the Southern California area, and they are on a fundraising and public awareness trip. And so they'll be making a number of stops in Southern California, and on October 16th, the group will appear here before the Glendale Housing Authority to make a presentation about their efforts, and then following that meeting, we'll be going to the police department for a reception. So just a general announcement that the Housing Authority, as well as members of the public, are invited to attend next Tuesday's event.
Thank you very much. We'll look forward to that. Any other comments from Authority members or staff? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.
Okay, I will call to order